Very good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the webisode. In fifth webisode today, and today we have Krishna Sagar Rao sir. Like last week, I've already mentioned you about the topic also. Handling entrepreneurial failures. This is one of the most debated topics, sir, amongst our student community, parental community. I keep hearing a lot of questions about we always talk about successes, but why don't we talk about failures? So that is one common thing that I keep hearing from the parents and also the school fraternity. And I know whom to invite to talk about this topic. I've read about your book, and anyways, before talking about that, I just wanted to introduce about today's speaker, guys. So we have Mr. Krishna Sagar Rao, who is the chief spokesperson of Bharatiya Janata Party, and apart from that, he's an internationally reputed organizational strategist, leadership coach, and author. In a career spanning over 25 years, he has coached thousands of senior executives, cut across industries, advised boards of large organizations, and authored several books. So he's also father of our student, Mr. Sagar Rao, and I, keenly observe, his interest towards entrepreneurial development. And it's been almost 1.5 years since I've been interacting with Krishna sir, and he always talks about these 21st century skills, and especially about handling entrepreneurial failures. He has authored a book also called a book on obstacle and failure management. So, sir, today we have more than 300 plus students that have been watching our program today, and most of them, they already have ideas. They have got entrepreneurial ideas. But yeah, like I was mentioning, one common question that I keep getting from the parents and also the schools are, what if the students fail during their entrepreneurial venture? Are we ready to take those failures? Is it good to taste failures at a very early age? So we are all looking forward for this session, sir. Thank you so much for joining, and we're all, I'm very much personally very much excited for this session today. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Pawan. Thank you for inviting me over to address this very important session on entrepreneurial failures and managing and overcoming these failures. And I'm very glad that this Saturday evening we have around 300 plus participants in this webinar. And I was told by you that most of them are students, but I think there are also some parents and some teachers, principals, and educationists. I welcome you all and good evening to all of you. While just about to begin this session, I think Pawan began this session 2 minutes ahead of time. I hope everybody is now online. So welcome to you all once again. And before I go straight into managing failures of entrepreneurial failures and how to overcome, I wish to also congratulate the Metamorphosis and the team led by Pawan on this initiative of trying to get people to, at a younger age, understand what enterprise is all about, what entrepreneurship is all about, because this is the biggest contribution one can make to a nation. Now, enterprising certainly is not for everybody. Entrepreneurship is a skill, both a mindset and a skill set. And entrepreneurship is the biggest contribution to a nation and to the world because it creates wealth, it adds value. Now, you can be an employee or you can be an employer. So it's a choice everyone has to make at one point of time in their life. When do you make it? When do you make that choice is up to you. But the earlier, the better. So when Pawan is leading this initiative, I wanted to contribute to this initiative because the earlier you make a choice of either you want to be an employee or an employer, you have a clarity of the path which you have chosen in your life. And those who have already chosen that path also have issues, but we will get to that in the next. Now, for all of you to understand, now because we have a mixed audience, I will address this session to the students, but I'll also keep it at a level that everybody can get benefited and get some value out of this session. The format of this session is going to be for 35 to 40 minutes. I will lead the session on this particular subject of entrepreneurial failures and overcoming it. And then after the 40-minute lead session. We can have a moderated question and answer session where we can, for 20-25 minutes, we can take most of the questions, and that will be the most exciting part for me. Now, the objectives of this session have to be set. I'm very clear that by the end of this 35-40 minute session, short session, you should be in a position to understand why should you choose entrepreneurship, and when, how, and then what are the obstacles in the path of an entrepreneur as that entrepreneur walks the path, and then how do you overcome. So these are three objectives. Now let's get straight to the session. First of all entrepreneurs or lead contributors, as I told you already, and all entrepreneurship is about adding value. Now, once we know that, we have to also understand that everyone cannot be an entrepreneur. And we also have to understand that entrepreneurship is a mindset and a skill set. So once we understand these bare facts of entrepreneurship, we also have to understand that the entrepreneurship requires risk-taking capability. And those who are risk-averse, the risk-aversion individuals, will not be able to venture much, even if they do stay not longer, because of the risks involved in the entrepreneurship. Like what Pawan said, some of the parents who talk about failure. What if we fail? What if the entrepreneur fails? Now you're setting yourself up first the question, a negative question of failure, instead of talking about how not to fail. So why don't you train your kids, your students, and the young people, first to understand what are the pitfalls and how to avoid them, and how to be skilled enough to not fail. Now, coming to the, once we're done with the bare facts, we also have to understand not every enterprise succeeds. And not every entrepreneur succeeds. There are global statistics, but we'll not get into them because some of them are not very authentic. So I'll only quote that 1 out of 100 entrepreneurs move their concept to commercialization. And about 3 actually get into a business framework and start operations. And only 1.5 to 2% actually get to be a business which actually runs as an organization and commercializes. So these statistics are very scary, but we should not be worried about these statistics because these are global statistics. What we should be very excited about is an opportunity every country unique to its economy offers. And India being an emerging economy and growing just before the corona, growing around 7%, 7.8%, even to the point of 9.5% one time, and recently 4.5%. Now we are hit. But this provides a huge opportunity for entrepreneurship. Now that we know entrepreneurship is a great journey, it doesn't believe in month-to-month paychecks. It is a giver. Entrepreneurship is a giver. Entrepreneur is a giver to society. He's not just a taker, great contributor, a value adder to the national economy, global economy. Now, all that is great. But why do entrepreneurs fail? And where do the failure lies? Now, just like anybody else, I mean, a sports person can fail, a doctor can fail, an actor can fail. Not everybody who gets into acting will become a great actor, will become a Shah Rukh Khan or, Chiranjeevi or somebody. So in every profession, there is a ratio of success to failure. So first of all, when we are getting into entrepreneurship, there are some basic pitfalls we should look out for and ensure that we do not fall into those traps. The first being, competence should drive an enterprise, not the passion. A lot of people talk about passion. Whenever there is an enterprise opportunity, an entrepreneurship sessions, a lot of people talk about have passion. If you have passion, you can achieve it. Passion is a pure emotion. Now, just an emotion is not going to help you. Emotion is necessary. Your drive, which is a passion for running a business, setting up a business, is necessary. Your motivation, inspiration is an emotion which is necessary. but that itself is not going to make you successful. Pure passion, in fact, will work against you. What you need is competence. So first things the young people have to first filter, you have to check is, do I have what it takes to be an entrepreneur? Do I have the competence to be an entrepreneur? And entrepreneurial competence is not a very complex framework. I mean, they are very, very minimal. I mean, Dhirubhai Ambani is not a rocket scientist, not an MBA from Harvard, but he did become a businessman par excellence and also global tycoon. So it is not about educational qualifications. It's not about whether you have it in the family. It is not about a certain skill set which has to be superior than everybody. It's not about excellent communication skills, but a risk-taking capability. The ability to have composure, to learn on the feet, to have clarity of thought, and to understand your concept like nobody else. Your business, nobody should understand your business the way you understand, because it's your business. So these are minimal competencies for you to understand. Do I fit into a business, or do I go and work for somebody? If I don't have a competence of clarity of thought, if I don't have a competence of risk-taking capability, if I don't have the competence of enjoying building something, creating something, then maybe I don't fit into being. If I am a safe player, if I am somebody who would want to check by the end of the month, if I am somebody who wants every Sunday to be a holiday, every Friday night to be a weekend off, then that's entrepreneurship is not built for you, at least not at the beginning of being an entrepreneur. So these are first filters. Now, why am I saying it during the failure session? Because when misfits enter into an enterprise, then they fall out. If I am being led by passion into a business, and that emotion gets countered by less motivation or lack of inspiration, when I hit an obstacle, and that passion will disappear into thin air. Only if you have competence, that passion will help. If you don't have competence, you'll fall. And the fall is a certainty if you don't have competence. So the first thing is be led by competence and not by passion alone. This is a pitfall which will lead to failure if you don't check it and if you don't ensure that you have competence enough to run a business. Number two, it's not the dream, it's the vision which protects entrepreneurs. A lot of people again talk about think big, dream big, just keep dreaming. I mean, dream is a flash in the pan. Dream is short-lived. Dream is lost if you don't even remember it early in the morning. By noon, you don't even know what you have dreamt yesterday. So it's not just a dream. Dreams don't turn into realities all the time, maybe 1 in a million. And who's counting? So what you have to have is a vision for your business. And it is drawn from the first filter, which I told you about, the clarity of thought, having a purpose, ability, and interest to build something. So the second part of it, which will set you up for failure if you're not very careful, is that you are just dreaming. I'm a big businessman. I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be big. I'm going to run this enterprise with 10 verticals. I'm going to have a group. Now, slow down. Take a pause. And then think, everything has to be built brick by brick. Your vision starts with your first business, which has to be moved from concept to commercialization, and from then to an expansion in the same vertical, consolidation, and then expansion into other portfolios or other areas of business. A lot of people get ahead of themselves and they spread themselves thin. They think that everything which is in their domain is an opportunity to make money. And when you are being driven by a dream of being big too early, you might even fall even before you become a small business. That is why a lot of startups across the world, when they all talk about being some corn, whether unicorn or single corn or double corn, they tend to not even get to a stage of commercialization because they are so not focused. So the vision gives you an opportunity to focus on building every block and then going up the ladder. And if you do not have the discipline, and if you were to venture into spreading yourself thin into too many businesses or too many opportunities right at the beginning, even before you consolidate, you are setting yourself up for failure certain. And I have seen many businesses where I try to intervene, I try to advise, people don't listen. Promoters are passionate. Promoters think they know everything. Which is good, but at the same time, you need to have an open mind to learn from an experience of a failure before. By seeing so many failures, you learn. So you don't need to be one to learn how to not fail. So you learn from others. That's the easiest part, but it's easier said than done. Now, the third and a very important part and a very major pitfall for many businesses, especially at the startup level and even at the next level, I advise a lot of big businesses, medium and big businesses at the board level. And I see this happen all the time. I have seen businesses collapse after 15 years. I have seen groups go bankrupt. I have seen groups go public, make mammoth money, and be debtless and be cash rich. So there are positive stories, but for every one singular positive story, there are 10 failures because promoters don't listen. And people who are at the CEO level, people who are at the managing director level, they don't understand that you can always learn and undo obstacles and kind of miss out on failures. You can drive yourself, set yourself up for success. Now, as I said, the third part, which is very critical, is professionalizing and not being an amateur. And a lot of small businesses, a lot of students here who are passionate, who want even my son for that matter, pitches a lot of ideas. Ideas come easy. Let me tell you. You don't need really big brains to have ideas. I'm not condescending anybody who has ideas, but implementation of ideas is the executive capability. And ability to convert an idea into a commercial success, making money out of an idea, getting a bang for your buck, that's entrepreneur. That's an entrepreneurship skill. As I said, it's both art and a skill. You need to have a mindset and you need to have a skill set. So if you're not a professional, in the third pitfall, people fail early in their businesses because they cannot move their business from one person to 10. 1 into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 6 or 10 or 20 or 100. A lot of people fall out even before it becomes 10. You know why? Because lack of professionalism. Being an amateur, trying to do everything themselves, not able to delegate, not able to trust, not able to raise resources, not able to get working capital, not able to get money on a daily basis to operate your business, not having a plan and not executing that plan. Now, I can go on because I want to keep it small, crisp for the kind of audience we have. I don't want to go into the jargon. I don't want to use accounting words. But these are simple things. A professional organization is structured. It is not haphazard. There is a method, not madness. A lot of passion, which can be madness. But the sooner you turn madness into a method and create systems, processes, and understand the language of accounts, and then work on your capital, work on your cash flows, and work on your human resource, your people. And mind you, the global statistics, which I said I hate to quote, because it will be very demotivating, establishes that most of the entrepreneurial failures in the first 5 years is because of the promoter or because of the key entrepreneur. It is not because of the market. It is not because of the product. It's not because of the idea. It is not because of the customer. It is not even because of the employees. It's because of you. Because you don't know much and you're not willing to learn. And you're stuck in I think people have to see the Shark Tank, there's a program out there. I think everybody has access nowadays. So you can watch Shark Tank and see the pitches. And when some pitch doesn't sell, and you're pitching to 5 major venture capitalists. And if the pitch doesn't sell, the man who pitched just comes out and he speaks to the camera and says, these guys are idiots, they don't understand my business. Now he's talking about people who have made businesses, built businesses, acquired markets, made profits to millions. And this chap thinks that they don't understand his business. If somebody doesn't understand your business, get out of that business. Because if you cannot explain your business, what kind of business are you in? I do a lot of interactions with young businessmen, young startup promoters, and I ask them, first question, what are you selling? And then they go all around the bush trying to explain so many things. After 5 minutes, we're still doing the same thing. What are you selling? So once you are clear about what you're selling, you're a professional. If you're not clear about what are you selling, to whom you're selling, where are you selling, how are you selling, if these questions are not answered, then you're an amateur. You're trying to sell something, but you don't know what. So that is how people fail, because they keep pumping money, they take loans, they raise money from family and friends, but by the end of the day, nobody knows what he's doing. Neither his employees nor his market. Nobody knows. So people lose. The fourth and the most important and the final pitfall, while there are many reasons why people fail, I just clustered these into just four major pitfalls, which basically are the key drivers of failure in any business. Now, I'm taking it to the next level after commercialization. Why people fail is because of the micro and macro economic events. Now, most of these micro and macro events are necessarily not out of your control, because you can see them coming, except for the corona kind of crisis. I mean, this is like one in a couple of centuries kind of a crisis. But otherwise, you can see how the economic cycles are. You can see how the product cycles are. You can see how the market cycles are. You can see how capital cycles are. You can see how money markets are doing. So if your eyes and ears are open and if you're a pro, you're a professional, and you're a man who's running a business, and a man who's running a business needs to keep his eyes and ears open, all senses up and running. And if you're not, then you're a part-time entrepreneur. You're not a full-time entrepreneur. So if you are a full-time entrepreneur trying to build a business and make it into a big business and maybe a group one day, you're listening to the market. You're open-minded man. You're acquiring on the feet a lot of learning. Now that kind of individual will see things coming. Now a simple example, I'm not a big fan of RIL, but still a $15 billion deal made in the middle of a crisis, middle of Corona crisis. And he's making another $6 to $7 billion business deals in terms of moving into education, moving into supermarket chains, online, and into logistics. I mean, he's using an adversity as an opportunity. That's Mukesh Ambani. Now, how do a lot of other people fail, and how somebody drives themselves to yield, get bigger yield during crisis, is crisis leadership. And I just wrote a piece yesterday on crisis leadership. So micro and macro economic events fail entrepreneurs. If they're not listening, if they're not active, if they're not aware of their environment, if I'm blinded by my own success, one day I might just open my eyes and see everything crumble because I haven't planned for adversity. I haven't put eggs in different portfolios. I'm carrying the entire basket of eggs with me. But when do you diversify is when you consolidate first. So I cannot go through the entire life cycle of how to set up a business, run a business, and at every stage of setting up a business, conceptualizing it, staffing it, commercializing it, consolidating it, expanding it. That it comes with every stage comes with its own challenges, and at every stage people can fail, and there can be different triggers which drive failure at different stages, and that is how the entire world you see a cycle of how businesses fail and how businesses succeed, and every 20-30 years you see different brands, and you walk on the streets, you don't see a restaurant you have seen 2 months back, it's gone, because this is how it is. They don't check all these four pitfalls primarily. Then there are 10-15 others at every stage. So for today, I think we have done with about 25 minutes. But still, I would be more excited to listen to all the young people and answer their questions than give you more, because if we were to have a kind of workshop kind of a model, maybe we can have a 3-hour, 4-hour program on basically how do you enterprise? How do you build an enterprise? And what are the skills required to build an enterprise? What's the competence of being an entrepreneur? Because entrepreneur is a great journey, let me tell you guys. I mean, you don't work for anybody, you work for yourself. You're a proud man, and you are adding value to the world around you. You're giving jobs to people. You drive flashy cars, you buy bigger stuff, but at the same time, you can lose it all if you're not a pro. And you have to become a professional to run any business in the world today, because there are bigger whales around us and they can eat you out. So talking on the final point of the micro and macroeconomic pitfall for a failure, are you building your business? I mean, I have also seen, I think Shanta is on, online with us. She's an expert in startup businesses. She's a VP for T-Hub. She would tell you that when people pitch and when they start up, they say, I'm going to sell this company in 3 years for a big valuation. I mean, that is a bummer. That will kill you. You never pitch to say that I'm building this business to sell it out. I mean, you have no attachment to your business. You have no plan to stay in business. You don't want to take risk of running that business, making it bigger. So it gives me a red flag if I'm an investor, that if one of the promoters is pitching and saying that I'm going to sell it out, I'm going to make money. How are you going to make money? Because I'll sell the company. Now, that is not the way you build it. You build a company. Selling is about equity part, right? It's the next level business. You have to become a big business to even talk about valuation. So don't get ahead of yourself. See, are you building a brand for perpetuity? Are you building a business for posterity? Or are you building something to sell and get out of the market? So there's nothing wrong in it, having an entry and exit strategy, but you don't talk about it as an entry level entrepreneur. You have a plan in your mind, which is great. You want to build a valuation, sell, get out. You want to be a serial entrepreneur. Great, congratulations. But you don't talk about it because people won't walk with you if you talk about it. You first establish yourself, build a reputation that you are a man who can build an idea, take an idea and build it into a business and commercialize it, get revenue out of it, make profit out of it, and distribute amongst your shareholders or your own friends and family or with your employees, and show that you are capable of selling a product or a service. And that is how you get a reputation of entrepreneur. After that, you can do anything. Now, Elon Musk is an example. Bill Gates is an example. Sundar Pichai is an entrepreneur. He's not an entrepreneur, but out of a million people who work for Google, why did he become the CEO? He thinks like a businessman. He knows how to run such a large enterprise. These are the idols. These are the role models. Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft. Why? Why not somebody else? Why not some John, some Donald, some Trump? Why? Because this man is a businessman in the shape of an employee. So if you are wearing a cap of an employer and you're still an employee, that's an entrepreneur. You are an entrepreneur inside an organization. And if you're a great guy, you can go ahead and become a CEO one day if you have that sense of business, running a business. So my dear friends, this is the short session which I've led you through the pitfalls, the objectives of the entire session. I hope I have met your objectives in such a short time. And I'm open now for questions. I think Pawan will take over from here and moderate the questions. Yes. And keep your questions crisp and pointed, and I'll keep it brief.
Yeah, sure, sir. Sir, I have one question, talking about the pitfalls again. We're talking about, we need to have a vision initially. Every entrepreneur must be having vision while you are dreaming big. So in the initial stages, how do we ensure that, we are actually on track or we are in line with the vision? Or how do we ensure that, this is the vision that is definitely going to work out? Or because the vision keeps changing, in the first couple of years of our business model at least. So how do we get that discipline to stick to our vision?
See, vision is not static, so don't get me wrong. Vision is also dynamic. It is also evolving. But when you have SMART goals, that small is SMART is small, measurable, achievable, reviewable, and time bound. SMART as an acronym. Now, if you have a SMART goal, it is small, it is measurable, it is achievable, and it is reviewable, and it is time bound. So I would say my vision will be can be like 2 years, 3 years. It is not 20 years anymore. We are in an economy where 3 years is long term. You know that. So 2 to 3 years. What do I want to be in 2 to 3 years? I mean, you cannot skew it much more than that. I mean, if you don't have focus to stay on course for 2 years, then you're not a disciplined entrepreneur. You'll not go too many. You will not go too far to too many places. So at least 2 years you set a vision and say, I want to, and then have the numbers and have a timeline and have some milestones in between and celebrate those milestones. Okay. If I have a staffing of 6 people in my team by 6 months of my entry level business, that's a milestone. Now, if I can hit a revenue of, let's say, 10 lakh in the next 6 months, that's a milestone. Let's do it. So you have to set these milestones, but all these milestones should add up to a goal, a bigger vision of 2 years or 3 years. When you say that by 3 years, I'll be a commercial brand, I'll be operating in this market, define the market, and say I'll ensure that I'll have a market acquisition of so much percent, and then work towards it. And then, you can set brand goals, you can set revenue goals, you can set profit goals. Yeah. And then you can also set your product expansion goals in the 3 years. 3 years span, that's it. So for me, I mean, I'm talking from my point of view. For me, a 3-year vision is a SMART goal. And if somebody is deviating in that 3 years, you can actually deviate to become better in the market. That's not a problem. But if you're deviating from the main goal of being someone, let's say I want to be a strategist, I want to be a professional strategist and have a consulting business set up for the next 3 years, then I cannot become a movie agent by the end of 3 years, or I should not become an entertainment company. What did I do? I set myself to be a strategic consulting business, and then I have taken a different path in between and gone to become an entertainment agency. Now that means you don't have focus, you don't have a discipline.
Yes, sir. Agreed. So we have a lot of questions.
Pawan, can I take this question? It came up on my screen.
I'm going to read out the questions, sir. So there is a question from Ravi V. He has asked, would you recommend to start a company or business using money from loans and shareholders, or to get an initial job and use saved money to start a business?
See, it depends on what kind of business you want to start and how much capital is required. So I think the person who has asked me this question, what's his name?
Ravi V. Ravi.
So Ravi, what I'm saying is, it depends on what is the size of the investment, what is the kind and type of business, what is the market you're entering, and depending on that, we can decide whether you require banking support, external finance support, or do you need to raise that money. If the capital is more, then you might require more financial assistance from outside. If it is, that is why I'm saying I'll not be able to advise you as long as I don't know what is the size of your project. So bigger projects require external support. You should not invest from your pocket. That's the rule of business. You have to use institutions to fund your business. You should not go bankrupt right at the beginning of your business, sell everything and put it into that business, and the business doesn't work, then you're on the streets. So that is not a wise decision to do. So I'll give you a ballpark figure. If it is anything more than 10 lakhs of paid up working capital initially, or if it is the fundamental capital you require to run a business, then you should look out for money from outside. I'm just giving you a notional number. It can differ depending upon your economic capability. But under that, you can fund it from your family, friends, that's a different way of doing it. But once you're about 10 lakhs, let's say, then you can ensure that you have private equity players, or you have people who come out from and invest either debt or equity. It depends on how you handle it. I mean, it's all case-to-case basis. But I would suggest first know why you're getting into a business. Why? And that should not be only to make money. There should be another reason other than making money, just making money will not get you to be successful, because then you need to have something, whether the product, the service which you're connected to, which you have competence to promote, and then you have to use that to enable to make money. So there has to be 2, 3 different factors which will connect you to setting up a business.
So there is one question from Arjun Vijay Narayanan. He's asking, sir, can you talk about the pitfalls in entrepreneurship?
What's his name? Arjun.
Arjun, yes. His name is Arjun.
This is a good question, because it is, once again, I mean, a lot of people don't look at being employed as such a great thing. I mean, it's become a natural progression for a lot of people to get jobs, because that's easy. Complete your education, go get a job, as simple as that. And a lot of, there's nothing wrong in having that mindset, because a lot of middle class and a low middle class population would want security, and they would want to, not that there are no entrepreneurs from that economic bracket. There are big entrepreneurs. I think most of the entrepreneurs come from the lower middle class and middle class economic brackets, but those are risk takers. But most of them, 90% and above people, would want a secured income coming at the month end or month beginning. So for them, a job is a job. So you define yourself into that silo and operate. That's great. So that's a great professional. But entrepreneur is somebody who's actually ideating while he's working for somebody. He's expressing. He is actually going ahead and getting his head stuck in some risky projects. He's taking bigger responsibilities. He's seeking more responsibilities and challenges. So he kind of showcases within an organization. And let me tell you, an entrepreneur in a smaller organizations is bound to get into trouble. An entrepreneur in a small organization will get into trouble mostly, unless the promoter is completely a maverick businessman who kind of promote a lot of internal talent. But in big businesses, in huge global businesses, entrepreneurs are like promoted. I mean, entrepreneurs are the quickest succession for them to become successful senior management executives, and sometimes all the way to CEO and COO. So the failure, some pitfalls, is that not knowing where to start and where to end in terms of risk taking, not knowing how to communicate effectively with people who are up above you, not understanding the projects which you are taking risks on, not assessing the reputation which you're building as to whether you deal with a project and succeed or fail, how would you handle that? So a lot of emotional strength and a lot of competence and a lot of skill sets need to match with your entrepreneurial spirit. If you just want to go and become a CEO, you don't automatically become one because you label yourself as an entrepreneur. Everybody in your organization should start labeling you as an entrepreneur because of the actions you take. So those are the positive points. And the pitfalls are, as I have already told you, not having competence, not taking calculated risks, and not working in an environment which promotes entrepreneurship, and not knowing whom to tap, whom not to tap, and all these at workplace. These are all pitfalls where the entrepreneurs do not really grow as much as they should in an organization.
Yeah, thank you. So I have one more question, sir. I mean, you've been talking about the risk-taking appetite or the risk-taking ability as an entrepreneur, but right from the school level or the college level, because we always talk about the academic performance, so we never talk about the extracurricular activity or something. So how do we ensure that the risk-taking appetite is being built right from the school level? So do you suggest anything to the school management or the parents or the students to practice something to say, for example, to participate in any of the competitions or anything as such, so that the risk appetite is going to be more?
See, there is a book called Rich Dad and Poor Dad. Now, you have to understand now, risk taking is a skill set, but it is a behavioral aspect too. It's a behavioral trait too. Do you take risk? Risk is an emotion, and risk involves uncertainty. Risk involves danger. Risk involves insult. Risk involves failure, and all these are emotions. Now, how would somebody become risk averse, and how somebody would become risk act and risk prone is on the basis of how your parenting is done, how you're taught in a school. So schools don't teach how you build businesses. And that's what there's a book called What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School. Even Harvard Business School doesn't teach actually as to how to become an entrepreneur, because they'll only give you models and you fit into it. So no school teaches you how to become a businessman and how to take risks. I don't think they can, but parents can. At home, if you are talking in terms of being independent, if you're talking in terms of adding value, not just making money, but adding value. If you're talking about uh, leading people, if you're talking about uh, creating products or ideating concepts or creating new services, or if you have these kind of dinner table discussions, not surrounding the fundamental survival of how much did he make, how much did that uncle make, what is the salary of this person, what is the salary of that person, when did he go to America, what job is he doing. So if the communication and conversation throughout the developmental stages of a child is about the small money, it's about small jobs, it's about security, it's about stability, it's about settling down, it's about getting married immediately after. See, all these things are not bad, don't get me wrong, but this is the mindset. So as I told you, entrepreneurship is a mindset and a skill set. So if you don't have a mindset developed over the period of time about, it doesn't matter if you're not secure, you have competence, you will be able to live off the street. If you have street smart skills, if you build, you will be able to be anywhere in the world and make money. Money is never a criteria. Money can be made, but it's about how I do it, where I do it, what is the value addition I give, how many people I can impact. So if that is the conversation which is happening, which generally happens in a higher economic scenario, that is why you see rich become richer and poor become poorer. Because the rich is always talking about bigger things, bigger businesses, bigger revenues, and taking risks, and that is a dinner table conversation. And when people see and experience the lack of abundance, then they tend to become withdrawn. So my request to a lot of parents, if at all they are there in this session, is to, if you have issues financially, I think it's good to deal with them yourself, and do not kind of let the child at an early age, especially developmental ages, I'm talking about 5 towards 12, participate in financial issues, financial conflicts, relationship conflicts, and talking about extreme security, extreme settle down, and small jobs, small money, monetary issues. I think good parenting is all about handling conflicts by yourself instead of allowing a child to see it, because a child gets impacted. Teachers can do the same. I think at the school level, instead of always talking about what job we want to do, what I get up, what is your faculty choice. You can also, like what you're doing, you can also promote entrepreneurship. You can get people to start thinking about how would it be if I become an entrepreneur. You're doing a great job. So that is the way forward. But the onus is more on parents.
Yeah, agreed, sir. Agreed with that. So there is one question from our student Niyati. So she has asked, sir, you said that for a business, it's motivation. You need motivation to succeed. But what if you don't have any motivation?
So you'll not succeed in anything. Now, if you don't have motivation, motivation is not just for business. Motivation is to have good life. Motivation is to do good. Motivation is to live well. Motivation is to learn more. Motivation is required for every step of your life. If Niyati feels motivation is only for business, then she is wrong. Motivation, when you wake up in the morning, for you to do something productive, you need to be motivated. The more motivated you are in your life, the more spirit you carry, and the more value addition you can do to yourself and others. So it is not only essential for business, it's essential for you to become a better person in your life. You're not motivated, you cannot be a better mother. You go get yourself a glass of milk. You're not motivated, you cannot be a great father. I'll not buy you a uniform this month, next month. I'm just making some silly examples, but what I'm saying is, you got to be motivated because you're alive and you got a great life. You're human, for God's sakes.
Yes.
And certainly, no motivation, no success in any dimension of your life. That's a
So how do
guarantee.
they get their self-motivation, sir? I mean, how do you suggest the students to get to be self-motivated to pursue anything?
It's not rocket science. I mean, it's not that I know all the answers, but from the natural learnings which I have gathered over the period of time, you get motivated when you have a purpose. As simple as that. So if you don't have a purpose, you're just surviving day by day, another day, man, I could drag myself into work or into school, then that's a vegetative condition. That's not human enterprise. That's not what I mean, you're not enjoying being on the top of the food chain on this planet. I mean, you are the most superior species in the world in this planet, and you're not excited about it. So if you're not excited about it, you cannot be self-motivated. You need somebody else to poke you every day to be self-motivated. I think the millennials have a problem here. It's a challenge because see, the gadgets will kill you. The gadgets will keep you vegetative. And they'll keep you in a vegetative condition. Sorry, all my young friends might, feel bad that I'm chiding them. I'm not chiding you. I'm only trying to tell you that you got to get out. You got to breathe fresh air. You got to interact with people physically. Now it's not possible, bro. When it was possible, you weren't doing it. Now it's not possible. So you should get out. You should do outdoor activity. You should read a lot of books. Man, book is a life's experience of an individual. Trust me, the dumbest book is the book you have never read. You can put your hands on any book, it'll add value to you. It doesn't matter which book, any book. So if you're not reading books, trust me, Pawan, if you were to take a voting in this population as to how many books they would have read on self-development, on on fictitious astronomical events, on fictitious stuff, on inspirational stories and on biographies, you won't find many people in this generation reading books.
Yes.
They feel book is a boring concept. I would rather watch a video, but a book has a lot. I mean, I don't want to really turn this into a book reading kind of a session, but yes. So self-motivation is having a purpose. And if you're not motivated every day, then you lack purpose, and it's a very dangerous dimension of your life. You will be vegetative very soon if you don't have self-motivation. And you can set yourself up for failure because you depend on others to motivate you, and that's not going to happen. In the world we live in today, everybody is watching their own back. They stretch to watch their own back. They will not watch anybody else's back. I mean, it's a selfish world out there. Sorry.
Yes. So we have a question from Namrata Ponnam. She asked, what is the difference between an entrepreneur and social entrepreneur?
It's a simple difference. I don't see much of a difference. A social enterprise is an enterprise which takes a social cause, and turns it into commercial outcomes. If it's a social cause alone, then it's not commercial. But if it's a social enterprise, you're making money on a social cause. There's nothing wrong with it, and there is a big trend of social enterprises growing, and there are a lot of social entrepreneurs who are very, very successful. Bill Gates today is a social entrepreneur. He's no more a tech entrepreneur. It's a multi-billion-dollar charity, but it also has revenue in terms of how he gets people to invest into his company, like how a lot of rich people have invested into the fund. So it is not profit-driven, but it's a social enterprise. So social enterprise is social cause plus business, and normal enterprise is purely commercial enterprise with a commercial idea, product or service.
Yeah. So Ravi has again asked a question. He's asking, the economic situation of the world is very dire. How as entrepreneurs do we get around that? Capitalizing around COVID-19 would be ideal for now. However, after COVID, the product will lose relevance and also value.
No, capitalizing on Corona by whatever a lot of people doing, masks and sanitizers, aprons, and the suits, which are secure suits and all that, personal security equipment. All that is fine. I mean, that is capitalizing on a temporary scenario. But I don't think brand new entrepreneurs have entered into freight, do it on a large scale, on a global scale, on a national scale. People who are in peripheral businesses, which are the textile people, started doing PPEs and masks. Somebody who's in alcohol business started doing sanitizers. Somebody who's in some other business started doing, the other forms, other equipments which are required right now. So it is an extension, and you're just trying to kind of add a product line to assembly. But I don't think this is the right time to invest into a new business at this point of time, unless, I mean, forget about the PPEs, masks, and sanitizer businesses. But it is good to expand your business or transform your business into another area, which is transformation is a strategy. So if you have a transformational strategy, for instance, I'll give you a small example. It's a very good question. About 3 years ago, I was advising one media company, and I was telling them they have a print and electronic channel. So I told them in the print and also the electronic, move to digital, and there's a lot of revenue there in the digital. So start parallelly a digital medium and ensure that you are driving your content into the digital medium and make money there. That revenue will add up to your regular electronic channel. As I told you earlier, people don't listen. They think that that has a little bit of a cost factor to it. We need to have a different group to work around it. They didn't take it as serious. And I then, in another board meeting, I told them that there can be a possible, I'm talking about 2 years ago. I said there can be a possible disruption, and your newspaper might not be selling as much. People might unsubscribe, or people might fall out, and there might be an event which will rupture the entire subscription pattern. So you have to be ready to have a transformation kind of a thing, and there's a platform, there is a digital platform. Why don't you go? And then when there is a disruption, you can easily switch because you have a platform which is existing. You don't listen. Now, 3 months back, subscription went to almost zero. Viewership is in tatters. Revenue is in a serious mess. Now they have to do it, and they're doing it. I'm still there on the board, so I don't want to be condescending, but they're doing it. But it's a hard way. If they could have done it 3 years ago, 2 years ago, things would have been very different, would have saved a lot of loss.
Yeah, interesting one, sir. Okay, we'll take last 2 questions. So we have one question from Srinivas Mantha from Doha. He has asked, how much of contribution would you make to maturing ideas would be field internships?
I didn't get the question. Please repeat.
Yeah. Yes. 1 second. I'll ask Srinivas to. Okay. So he's asking how much of contribution would you make to maturing ideas would be field internships. Maybe he's asking, how would this field internships would help the students to come up with good ideas?
I still didn't get the question. Internships of what? I mean, who's giving internships?
So the field internship is what he's asking. Anyways, we'll Srinivas, if at all, I think Srinivas is.
I request him to rephrase that question, please.
Maybe we'll just ask him to ask his question directly. Srinivas, you can speak now.
Yeah, hi. Good evening, Krishna Sagar Rao. My question is that
you can call me Krishna.
Yeah, hi. So my question is that one of the challenges that most of these young entrepreneurs have is saying that how do we go about maturing our ideas, and the best way is to probably bounce it off with many people, but an even better way is for them to go and experience that out in the field, right? And which would mean in a very common language would be saying, do we do market research, do we do those kind of things? But for them to get their hands soiled, for them to gain a bit of maturity, is for them to go and work out things in the field. And that is my question, saying that do you believe that to mature ideas of students or young entrepreneurs, it may be a good idea to get them out into the field outside, and rather than confining themselves to meetings, seminars, discussions, and things like that?
See, I think there is a practical issue here at the age what we're talking about, because Pawan told me that he's focused on students who are ranging from 6 towards 12. It's a huge heterogeneous group. And then all these people are in a serious pursuit of learning at this point of time. And it's essential for them to learn the theory part, the conceptual part, and get the grades and get out with certificates. It's very essential for them to get through this phase with a lot of learning. So there might be a practical problem of getting field experience unless they have SIPs, summer internship programs. Maybe that's only like few weeks, and so that's all right. I mean, but eventually when they're going to enterprise, that's going to be seriously after their 12th or after their undergrad or after their postgrad. So we are setting them up in spirit, in skill set, and in competence at this point of time, which will be a bedrock for them when they kick off their actual career plan after undergrad program or a grad program or postgrad program. That's how you're going to see it. I mean, practically, I mean, it will be a 1 in a million kind of proposition. A young man at seventh standard or eighth standards becoming an entrepreneur by himself. It will be a very rare occurrence. So we are not, I don't think Pawan has that in mind as to turn the 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th graders into entrepreneurs right now. I don't think that is the purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Srinivas. Thanks for asking the question. And okay, we have one question from Namrata. She's asking, Sir, team plays a major role in transforming your idea into business, but how to select a right team or a proper team?
Now, this is about, it's a very powerful question because, as I said, if you do not define your vision, having vision is one. A lot of people can turn their dream into a kind of a vision with a small conceptual framework, as I said, a smart goal made into a vision. If you're smart, you really have a vision which is very clear. But keeping it in your head is not going to get you a great team. You have to communicate your vision publicly, openly, and especially to those whom you're interviewing. And you have to pick and choose those individuals who will correlate to the kind of a desire you have for smaller and medium and long-term goals, which adds up to the vision. So that is very essential. That's why the human resource becomes a critical mass, a critical driver for your success as an entrepreneur. Because if you don't have the right team, you're setting out yourself up for failure, because you cannot just babysit these guys after you hire them and pay them and still babysit, and you don't get paid for that.
We'll take one last question from Mahek, our student. So she asked, according to you, which would be the best business to invest in a particular field after this pandemic?
After, we don't know. I mean, we are completely uncertain about what's going to happen after this pandemic, before the pandemic. But I think the world will move on. So you have a plethora of options. You have the world in front of you, right from making a specialty and able to sell it as a global brand, or as Sahas has pitched Keema and saying, there is no Indian food brand across the world which delivers the best of the Indian recipe in the most standardized and the speedy delivery format. That could be a great business. Two, what Elon Musk is doing is putting people commercially into space vehicles and sending them to space. So the space is too big. After Corona, whenever it happens, maximum another 7 months, 8 months, maybe 2 years, the world is an open market for you. It's a seamless world today. So the girl who has asked this question, congratulations to her. But you should expand your mind and again, find a concept, however small it is, you can make a business out of it, as long as you're focused on the concept. As I said, you could sell tea and put the best tea seller in the world. You could set up a fast food restaurant brand and build it as a global brand. Or you can have a space mission, which is a multi-billion-dollar business, and then become better than maybe Elon Musk and beat him in his business. So you have all the options. Go for it.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I think there are a lot many questions that are coming around, but what I'll do is maybe I'll just, I'll just write to you the questions. Maybe if at all, free time, you can answer these questions. I'll just get it. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much for joining this session.
Let me thank all those who are online right now, who have paid attention, who have listened, who have asked the questions. My heartiest best wishes to all of you, both parents, young people, teachers, principals, educationists. Our time this evening has been splendid together. We couldn't interact much because of the volume of people here. And I thank Pawan to having me on the show today. and hope I have added some value on this beautiful Saturday evening on this rainy day.
Definitely, sir. I mean, a lot of comments on the chat box also. They're all thanking you for the informative session. And on everyone's behalf, once again, I thank you so much for joining on a Saturday evening. And the session was very much interactive. And students, who missed out in the initial part, anyways, we are going to send the recorded version of this. And we are all, anyways, sending through emails through your schools. You will be getting the recorded session of this. And thank you, Srinivas. Thank you for joining. And also, Shanta. There are a lot of startup ecosystem folks also that have joined the session today. And I hope it is very much informative. And once again, thank you so much for joining, guys. And the next week, we have Mr. Ratnakar, who is the investment director of Hyderabad Angels. He is going to talk about essentials for starting your own venture in terms of the legal and also the funding and also the financial aspect, whatever any entrepreneur must go through. Ratnakar is going to talk about those. So again, I'll see you guys on the next Saturday. And once again, we all thank Krishna sir for joining the session and also giving us insights on overcoming entrepreneurial failures. And we all should remember the pitfalls that he has talked about. We're anyways going to send the synopsis and also recorded session. Once again, thank you all. Have an amazing weekend ahead and stay safe. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. See you.